You are stepping into a version of you that asks for more truth, more depth, and a different way of living. Welcome, beautiful soul. This is Midlife Butterfly, the space where you remember who you truly are beneath all the roles, responsibilities, and expectations. I'm your empowerment guide, Ken as you, and I hold this space for women in midlife who are ready to rediscover themselves, reclaim their joy, and live fully aligned. If you are new here, welcome to our cocoon. You've just entered a place where choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's sacred. In this episode, I'm sharing a powerful conversation I originally offered inside a doorway to home for the woman who is starting to question everything she once thought defined her. You'll walk away with these three shifts. First, a deeper understanding of why midlife can feel like an identity unraveling and why that's not a crisis, it's a recalibration into something more true. Second, a new awareness of how you may be living in overdrive, constantly doing, achieving, and holding it all, and what is costing your connection to yourself. And third, an introduction to a different way back, one that brings your body, your heart, and your inner wisdom into the same conversation. This episode is also an invitation to Home, my membership, which begins May 5th. And for a limited time, the founding members rate is available. If something in you is curious, this might be your doorway in. Check the show notes for more details.
Hello! Welcome back, beautiful ladies, to A Doorway to Home. And it's our second session doing neuroepigenetic breathing, a kind of breathing technique that is very revolutionary. And I am so excited to share it with you today. But before that, we're going to talk a bit about how we live life kind of like in midlife, right? And why you probably here and I am with here too, because we are, in this beautiful path. I do think that one of the things that is bring us to this place and more when we are more conscious and we are more aware of who we are, and we start kind of like getting little pieces here and there, that is like, okay, like, we start questioning life, better said, right? And it's because we think that like something is off, like something feels off within us. And when the truth is like nothing is wrong. It's just like we get here after, decades of a lot of stuff that we have been doing, and or things that we were, with the programming, the conditioning, and everything that has happened through our lives, that I think we come to a place at one point that is like, we start questioning, and it's like, yeah, no, that doesn't really like resonate with me. Or it's like, it's just that not resonance anymore with many things. And not even with things, it's also with people that we used to, have a perspective of them. But then because of our perception of life starts changing, then we are like, why I'm not really like liking or really in alignment with that person anymore. And I think it's because through life itself, very little we get so into life that we just go with it in autopilot in a way. And when suddenly we just make that pause and say, oh yeah, no, this feels off, it's then it comes a moment that we cannot ignore it anymore, because it's just like, it's like the body, like if we don't listen to it, at some point it's going to scream at us. I think it's the same. And it's probably the same body calling us, like saying, hey, I'm whispering to you, like, this is not good anymore. And it's when then the mind it starts like questioning more. And I think it's because of all the roles that we have been playing through our life since we are kids, right? The way or our upbringing is, the way like education, culture, religion, everything that it has been from us there. And this is the way that we have been living for years and years. And then more when we come to closer to midlife, like at least our 30s or 40s, that if, I know you ladies are moms, and then if you have a husband, then also taking care of our parents and things like that, that we start putting everyone else first in the list. And by doing that, we start to forget who we really are, because there are so many roles that either we choose to take them, or we were pushed to take them, because that's life. Like sometimes it's like we get pushed to do things even though we don't have an option. And then from there it's like, okay, I have to be like the strong one for the family, or you become the the savior, the rescuer, and all these kind of roles that in a way we have to do it a lot of times because of others, but many other times we do it so unconsciously to be loved, to be accepted, you know, and and it's normal to take those roles or to be like that, because of course we want to belong, and we don't like to be rejected, which is something that we are, as human, we're here to be in community, to be part of something, to be more than just this individual being. Like, okay, how can I then contribute to others, or how can others help me at the same time? The thing is, as women, I do believe that it's the roles that we take it more strongly, and sometimes we get more into our masculine energy of just doing and doing most of the time, instead of going with the flow of the feminine, of more being. And then it's when this kind of like imbalance comes within. And as we evolve during midlife and we start questioning life, as I say at the beginning, I think it's because we start outgrowing those roles. We start shifting, and more with the fact that we usually have a checklist, right, to follow. Like, okay, you have to study, you get a job, you get married, you have kids, plus the material stuff that you're supposed to gain with all that checklist. But what I noticed is that when we arrive to midlife, like, what else? Like, there's no more to follow. And what I have discovered is more like, okay, like, I think that's why it's an awakening, this part of our life. It's not a crisis. I do believe it's more like an awakening, like, okay, the soul, really calling you back here, home. And it's because that awakening is more like, okay, it's time to come home to yourself. It's time to let go of, yeah, you're already filling the checklist, probably yes, probably no, but it's like, what about if now you start writing each of those things that you want to create from now on, that because you choose it consciously, hopefully, that you can experience in life. And I think it's a very cool like season to be in midlife, because we are more aware of what we want, more conscious of what we want to experience. And since you are actually the creator of your own life, so it's like, okay, so what are you choosing today? You can really choose how you want to feel, what you want to experience, either only with yourself or if you want to be with others. And by having that awareness is how you can create a reality that aligns more with who you are, and it has this kind of coherence, right? Living in that coherence of what you are feeling, what you are thinking, and what you are doing are in alignment. Otherwise, that's why we feel then this offness, because we are not, what we are thinking, feeling, and doing are just like, crumbling out there. And again, like this happens through the years, right? And I think is one of the things is that we get too mental, like too much in our logic head to be doing everything that we're supposed to do, the tasks with the, with the family, with the marriage, with work, with the, I don't know, like having a promotion of, if you're an entrepreneur, like all those little things that we get too much in the head. But there's a moment again that the body is the one calling us back. We get that disconnection with the body. And this machinery that we have is just so beautiful and so complex, and is literally the avatar that we have to have this human experience, right? And the more we get to reconnect with our body, the more you are actually going to feel home again. Because we usually say the mind and the body, even though the mind is part of the body, it's just, or what the neck is the one kind of like making that connection through it. And what a lot of scientists and mentors, what they really work with is the mind heart coherence, which is super important. What I loved about this method of neuroepigenetic breathing is the fact that it also connects our sex part, meaning like, our pelvic floor, our womb, the organs, everything that is there, our sex itself, because we are all this. We are sex, love, and consciousness. And when we get to balance and to work with these three elements, that at the end is where all our energy centers are, the more in coherence you're going to be. Because then the mind is there, but then who's the one feeling more? It's usually more like the heart, but also your hand can be feeling something, or your feet can be feeling something. And then from when we have these two incoherences, when we really can take that action that we want to create something that is in alignment with what we really want to experience in life. And by working, like with the whole body itself and reconnecting with it, and then allowing ourselves to live, to experience that, the emotions that we have, because unfortunately we were not taught how to experience our emotions. They were like put aside. It's like, no, don't cry, or you're the good girl, like, since we are kids, they are constantly being programmed and conditioned on how to behave. And there's no wonder why now, like, we come to midlife and we don't even know how to move our hips. And it's just crazy. And I, at least for me personally, one of the reasons is because sex was a taboo at home the whole time. We never talk about it. Still, we don't. So one of the things that brought me to neuroepigenetic breathing was that part of also putting sex in the equation of the heart and the mind. And it just had, it had blown my mind. because it's different how I can now experience the body, and we keep a lot of trauma in the pelvic floor. Most of it is kind of like there, and that's why we have struggle actually moving our hips or reconnecting with our womb, because all that is just constrained. Just the fact that we usually are tighten our asshole. If you notice, like, and it's a way of protection. The body does it like that. If there's something happening, the first thing we do is tense the body, and that includes the asshole. And that's why it's one of the things that we do with this kind of breathing is really release, like relax that part of the body, because it's basically the base of our body. So if we are here, as an extension of Earth, right, and an extension of Source, then we gotta, we are the channel, so it has to flow. And if we are tightened over there, how is the energy from the Earth going to flow through us to go up to Source, to the divine, to that connection with God? Because we are an extension of all of it. So by working in these areas of the body that we consider, like we don't supposed to talk about them, or that, we consider a taboo. But why, if it's also a part of our body, like our ear or our lips, the pelvic floor, the womb, the vagina, the perineum, the prostate for a man, the gland is also part of the body. So why do we tend not to talk about them if it's part of us? And I think once we kind of like open or just change that perception little by little is how we can then start exploring more and seeing, yeah, that's part of me. So then that disconnection that we have starts kind of like fading away, like little by little. Because at the end, it's just the perception, but we can always change our perception just by seeing something from just the 2 degrees angle. From that, it's just a different way of seeing things. And I think that's one of the cool parts that our mind can do and that we can do if we choose then to see things with a different perspective. And yeah, and I think it's about then normalizing, not that there's anything wrong with us, and then just normalizing that we are all this. We are sex, we are love, we are consciousness, because also sometimes it's like, how am I going to say that I am love? Like, why not? How can you not say that you are love? If you are here, it's because of a greater design. Yeah, it's our biological parents that give us, excuse me, life here, but it's more than that. It's really the grandmother and the grandfather who said, like, there you go. Because how can you explain sometimes that they are mothers and they are 60 years old? When they're supposed to be in menopause or something like that. It's like, yeah, it's really the divine who shows you to be here for one reason and another. So the more I think we can normalize that we are all this and start putting together those fragments of what we think that probably you can feel that I am not love, that yes, you are love. It's probably the way you were taught that love is very different. But what about when you start connecting more to who you truly are? and you're going to start experiencing love in a different way. And you're going to say, yes, that's true. I am love. And it's interesting how through our life, because of the different experiences and relationships and circumstances that we go through, one of the things that happened is that we start kind of like fragmenting ourselves. If we have a relationship, we leave parts of us in that relationship, in that person. And it's something that we don't realize. Or it's also part of us that we divided within ourselves. And it's mostly what we consider our shadow, are things that we don't want to see because in the spectrum of society or culture of religion, it's wrong according to them. And then we tend to shame or to feel guilt for certain part of us because it's like, no, I don't supposed to feel jealous or feel envy or to do something bad, but it's like bad according to whom? It's then coming back to that questioning, because if we just leave it like that and we don't question it, is we hide that part of ourselves. And it's when we feel that disconnection because we hide those parts from the being. And then when we actually leave part of ourselves to others for a kind of different relationship that we have. It could be a romantic relationship. It could be, like my deceased father. It could be my ex-husband. So leaving all those parts of us, I think that's part of that offness that we feel within us because we're not really aware of leaving those parts away from us. And the more we come, with the breath, and we come to put together all those pieces, because it's the cool part of this is not only the reconnection within the body, but it's also the connection of the energy that is out there. It's the connection with the divine, God, source, whoever you want to call it, also back to you, because the body, it's finite, but the divine, it is not. It's infinite. So once when we realize that we are an extension of it, it's like, oh, wow. It's like we are much more than this. We are much more than this body only. But imagine how much more we are if we are an extension of God, what everything is infinite. Imagine how much actually love you can feel, more abundance you can feel, more joy you can feel by knowing that you are much more than simply this body. And that's why by doing these free sessions, my aim is to actually invite you to Home, which is a new membership that I am opening. By doing the certification in neuroepigenetic breathing and by knowing how to put all of the fragments back into me and feeling home here, it has been such a powerful work and such a powerful experience that, of course, it's a continuous practice. And it's so fulfilling, it's so satisfying to be who I truly are at this moment. By shading so many layers and so much trauma and memories and stories that some of them were mine, but a lot of them, they were not even mine. They come from my family or they come from the collective. And just by breathing, by connecting to your body, to your emotions, it is amazing how, of course, you can transform yourself because you are transforming your nervous system. And at the same time, you are rewiring your mind. The cool part of this system too is that it's working with the three brains that we have. So it helps rewire the mind itself, and it's just by breathing, and you don't really have to talk about it. Which is really cool, because so many times, like, yes, when we work with coaches, or with, I don't know, therapists, which of course it is a great support to have there. But sometimes what we're doing is rewiring those stories. And I think that the cool part with this system is the fact that you breathe, yeah. And there's going to be emotions coming through, and there's going to be things moving inside. But then at the end of it, you kind of feel at peace. You come back to a place where your nervous system is just calm. And with the calm nervous system, that's peace is coming back here little by little. Because if we are always, in fight or flight, we're not going to be able to feel at home. And that's a cool part of this system, because I do believe that home. I read this, and now that's the way I feel it, is that home is not a place. Home is a feeling. And once you feel home here in your body, you can be everywhere. It doesn't matter where you are. You're always going to feel safe. You will always going to feel at peace, even though there's chaos over there, but you're going to be able to manage and come back to peace in here. Because by you being able to regulate your nervous system, it's just about taking a few breaths and coming back to that space again, where you feel safe, where you feel calm. And by doing that, of course, your life changes. You transform your day to day because you feel good within yourself. And of course, that is transmitted to whoever is around you. Thank you for tuning into Midlife Butterfly. I hope this episode empowered you in some way. Share the love by hitting follow wherever you're listening, and leave a review if you feel inspired. I also love to connect with you. Come say hi on Instagram at Midlife Butterfly. I love to know you. Until next time, keep spreading those wings and live in joy, growth, and pleasure.